Good morning. It's awesome to be with you today with the 27th episode of our digital Devos. My name is Karla Garrard, and we are going to be taking a look into, guess what? Which chapter of the Bible? Matthew 6. It was awesome to be with you this past Sunday as we looked line by line at this passage. This morning, we're going to be taking a look at the sixth petition. Our studies guide says this: in the sixth petition, which is, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil, we pray that God would either keep us from being tempted to sin or support and deliver us when we are tempted. Now, some people have split this petition into two, but it should be read as one and the same petition. The first part asks God not to lead us into temptation, a word which may actually confuse our understanding of this passage. When I was studying last week, the word that it should be that we would understand from the original Greek is testing. And our study guide says, rather, it refers to a trial by God of a person's integrity. It says this in James chapter 1, verse 13. Let no one say when he is tempted, I am being tempted by God, for God cannot be tempted with evil, and he himself tempts no one. But each person is tempted when he is lured and enticed by his own desire. Then desire, when it is conceived, gives birth to sin. And sin, when it is fully grown, brings forth death. So God does not tempt us, and his word here in James reminds us of that. The study guide goes on to say this, that John Calvin, interprets this sentence as this, that we may not be led into temptation, deliver us from evil. Thus, this prayer is not a prayer for God not to tempt us, but is a prayer to God for protection from temptation of the evil one, Satan. Now, this next quote in the study guide is worth you studying and unpacking. It says this from John Calvin: it would be foolish to ask that God would keep us free from everything which makes trial of our faith. All wicked emotions which entice us to sin are included under the name temptation, though it is not impossible that we may feel such pricks in our minds, for during the whole course of our life, we have a constant warfare with the flesh. Yet we ask that the Lord would not cause us to be thrown down or suffer us to be overwhelmed by temptations. I love this word. There is a profoundness in this simple prayer. For in this prayer is the recognition that apart from the assistance and deliverance from God, there is an inability to not fall into temptation. It says this as well in James 1, starting in verse 2. Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds, for you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness, and let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. And then this in Matthew chapter 26, verse 41, watch and pray that you may not enter into temptation. The spirit is indeed willing, but the flesh is weak. Tempted and testing. God allows us to walk through trials, and oftentimes he will put them there. Let's think about Job. Let's think about Peter. God allowed for the enemy to sift Peter. He allowed for the enemy to come in and test Job. But yet we count it all joy, it says in James, because this testing will produce steadfastness. God's desire is to, and we see this in Psalm 23, his desire is to lead us in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. That's our God. I'm reminded of the story in the Old Testament in Daniel of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They said to King Nebuchadnezzar when he was going to throw them in the fiery furnace, they said, our God will deliver us. But even if he doesn't, we will not worship you. We will not bow down. Do you find yourself in a situation like that today? If not, I can guarantee you will. I can guarantee if we were sitting here across the table from each other, you would tell me that you have found yourself at times in a testing of your life. I just want to encourage you today to pray this prayer on the daily, on the regular, as you preach the gospel to yourself, reminding yourself of your neediness of God. Lord, lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. The last part of the study guide concludes with this: any inclination of sin in our lives is the result of our depravity, the fallen state of our world, and the influence of satanic forces in our daily affairs. The only source of hope and deliverance from evil is God. Would you press into your Good Shepherd today? Allow him to restore your soul, to lead you by still water, and then claim what we saw this morning, that he wants to lead us in paths of righteousness. When you find yourself tested and tempted, would you cry out to God? Would you ask him to help you? Would you ask him to show you the path that he wants you to walk on, because he has righteousness for all of us? Be blessed today. I can't wait to be with you at church tomorrow, and just continue to encourage you to connect on all of our social media platforms, all of our digital connection points during this time of social distancing. As I always say, we miss you and love you very much.